order.
It's certainly new, and it's certainly a world, and it's going in order.
It's orderly.
CNBC headline, Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, or Ye, I don't know, I get corrected all the time. Ye?
It's Ye.
Okay.
It's Ye.
Agrees to buy conservative social media platform Parler, company says.
Wow.
It's happening. It's a long-awaited purchase of Parler. Kanye West, the superstar rapper who has made several inflammatory and anti-Semitic comments in recent weeks, has agreed in principle to buy conservative social media platform Parler. The app's parent company said in a statement Monday, quote, "In a world where conservative opinions are considered to be controversial, we have to make sure we have the right to freely express ourselves," said West, who now goes by Ye, in a statement released by Parler. I actually think the letter said, "Dear Ye."
Yeah, they referred to him by Ye.
Yay. Financial terms of the deal weren't announced. The company previously said it had raised $56 million in funding from outside investors. The move comes after Ye was locked out of his Twitter and Instagram accounts for making anti-Semitic remarks. In one post, Ye played into a long-standing anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that fellow rapper Sean Diddy Combs is being controlled by Jewish people. On Twitter, meanwhile, Ye's account was restricted after he said he would go, quote, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, all caps. Hey, not a great look. A representative for Ye didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Ye's net worth is reportedly $2 billion. Much of his fortune come from his Yeezy sneaker brand and partnerships with Gap and Adidas. However, Ye severed business ties with Gap recently, and Adidas said it's also reviewing its business relationship with him. JP Morgan Chase also cut ties with the rapper. Moving on, Parler is one of the several right-wing friendly platforms to emerge during the Trump era. It might have helped in the January 6th insurgents and the whole deal. They just go into the whole thing there. And
You're going off the rails there, man.
Well, you know, it's funny because they just run through. They have literally 7 words, or I guess 8. Yeah, 8 words about the JP Morgan situation. JP Morgan Chase also cut ties with the rapper. That's kind of a big deal. We covered it in the last episode, but you were aware
ties.
of it.
Cut ties is it's probably the least descriptive way that you could describe that situation.
Yeah, well, the Bloomberg did have this article, banking breakup between Ye, JP Morgan planned for weeks. And according to the Bloomberg article, the JP Morgan Chase and the rapper formerly known as Kanye West are ending their business relationship, but the breakup is not a result of the controversy over the hip-hop star's recent anti-Semitic comments. And so it goes into how Candace Owens, her tweet, really brought this news to light, but I don't think people wanted to carry it. And now that it's out there and true, they want to try to address it, tiptoe around the issue. But it says here that the decision was made after Ye publicly said he was going to cut off ties with the bank. JP Morgan is giving West 60 days from the date of the letter, which they sent a letter to West on September 20th. And West told Bloomberg News on September 12th that he planned on cutting much of its corporate ties, saying he, quote, "It's time for me to go it alone." In that interview, he also criticized JP Morgan for not giving Ye access to Jamie Dimon, the bank's CEO and chairman. So apparently it was more of like Ye saying, hey, time for me to go into Indy. And then JP Morgan said, okay, sure. And then sent him a letter.
Yeah. I mean, who knows exactly what it is? But I mean, you got to keep in mind, this is not just like his personal finances. No, I mean, we've been talking about the cancellation, the cancel culture, the censorship, the whatever words you want to use to describe it, extending towards, debanking people, which is sort of the ultimate censorship. Yeah. And this is really, Canada had a little bit of this with the truck drivers. Yeah. And, that's been a developing story ever since. This is really one of the first that I can think of a real debanking It is along the same lines as like a PayPal getting kicked off PayPal, but to have your multi-billion-dollar business be debanked by JP Morgan Chase is that's some next level. Kanye prides himself on taking things to the next level. He certainly took this one to the next level.
Well, the old saying that we've been hearing, they start your own. Oh, you don't like YouTube? Start your own YouTube. What's the thing where it's like, oh, you don't like JP Morgan? Start your own JP Morgan. It's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Create a whole different financial system, huh? Sounds
I
like
think
something.
It is interesting how the banks are really kind of, I don't know, maybe the last one of these industries in peril that hasn't had like a free speech or conservative version of it sprout up.
Right.
You've got the video platforms, you've got the social media platforms, you've got all sorts of platforms popping up to sort of, in the name of free speech. Yeah. Nobody's yet started the free speech bank yet.
Kind of hard to really get behind that one,
You got
Banks
this,
can freely express their feelings too. Although you missed it last week, Basil. We covered BlackRock, who, and this is relevant somewhat to the China story later too. But BlackRock was saying, "Oh, we don't like what China's doing. We're not all these accusations about being controlled by China. They're inaccurate." And then in the same Twitter thread, this is directly from BlackRock, they were like, oh, by the way, when there's reunification with Taiwan, and it was like, oh, yeah, no, you guys are definitely controlled, or at least in friendship with China. You wouldn't call it a reunification if you were just an independent investment firm or something, So anyway, it's just funny how it's all being moved around. And, we were talking about this a little bit right before we went live, but it's sort of it is a controlled chaos here. It feels like everything's falling apart. Oh no, the banks but it feels like it's all kind of purposeful too. It's like they need the chaos to hit the reset button. It
really is a strange mix. It feels like it feels like a chaotic act. I mean, everything, if we're just talking about it feels like the consequences of a rash decision or a tweet gone wrong or a series of sort of chaotic acts. There's discussions around this sort of mental state and things like this. But when you line them all up and you see the dominoes begin to fall, it doesn't feel as chaotic as I think we're supposed to feel that it is. I don't know, man.
For us, I think for normies, it's incredibly chaotic. Like this is
because it's just following the exact series of events that we're expecting to happen.
Right. Yeah, especially,
or maybe it's just a matter of paying attention. Who knows?
I would agree. And one of the things that I wanted to just bring up as part of the conversation here with the Ye thing is a throwback. Every once in a while, I like to bring this back up, and it's the 2017 Economist cover called Planet Trump, and it has 8 tarot cards. And I think it's important to bring this back up every once in a while because in 5 short years, going on 6, the progress that has been made by these magicians is quite remarkable. So we have the Tower card, which I've brought up multiple times. It's the first card on here. It's the split between the Protestant Tower, where the Martin Luther thing was nailed on the door.
Yep.
It's being torn up, and there's a Christ side and there's a communist side. So there's like a split happening worldwide, and that's in context to Russia and China and the West and NATO, and it all kind of fits into that mold. So that's obviously taking place because we're seeing that sort of religious divide and conquer methodology there. And then, of course,
and there's the aspect of it being religious ideology coming up against a political or economic ideology, and equating those and posing them against each other.
Right. Yes. And then there's the judgment, Trump sitting on the earth. And of course, I think we're going to continue to see the quote unquote draining of the swamp as part of this whole reset thing they're doing, and the expose the corruption kind of thing. And perhaps that's also why certain people are being chosen to move to the next thing, in terms of economic infrastructure. Then we have the world card, which is interconnected information, government, entertainment. We're seeing that with the rise of blockchain.
Culture.
Culture.
Blockchain.
And then we have the Hermit, which is, of course, very interesting because the Hermit card in the tarot traditions has to do with introspection, meditation, self-reflection, solitude, soul-searching, withdrawal from society, exile, loneliness. I don't know. There's just something that's happened in recent memory, Basil, where it's caused the entire world to be introspective and lonely and exiled from one another. I don't know, man. I don't know if they've pulled that one off, but
nothing rings a bell.
Nothing rings a bell. Okay. And then there's the stars, which I think has to do with perhaps Apophis at the end of this decade. Wheel of Fortune, the wheel of politicians coming and going. And we're not going to bring the story to you, but Liz Truss over there in the UK replacing Boris is having some issue right now, gaining any kind of credibility with anybody. Nobody likes her. Then we have the Magician card, where you have the VR headset and the 3D houses being printed as sort of the meta move there. And finally, the Death card, which is the big nuclear explosion, which in the context of current news, Putin's going to hit the button. We're going to have a nuke.
We're on the precipice. We're on the precipice.
So really, in 2017, these tarot cards kind of look like, all right, whatever. In 2022 here, going on 2023, all of these things seem to be well in development. And they do a good job of just letting everybody know what their plans are, especially in this form of tarot, just kind of like, hey, we're performing magic on the world. And here's our
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. In that context, the Ye story is sort of, I don't know, just right in line with the changing of the guard, the changing of all of the infrastructure. So just bring that into conversation.
Absolutely. No. I mean, it's if you recall, I mean, and there's a sort of a famous juxtaposition with Ye in particular as he's being sort of set up to be. Now, even the messaging around Ye and his, anti-Semitic tweets and his ban from his subsequent ban from the Twitter and then going over to Parler, the messaging, the structure of the message is again connecting, anti-Semitism, hate, sort of perhaps even mental illness with conservative ideas, which is very much a well-manufactured structure for the messaging. The messaging is one thing, but the framework, the form of the message is even more powerful.
Well, and Ye also, if I recall, recently sort of alluded to the Black Hebrew Israelite theory.
Right. He's sort of Hebrew roots. Black Hebrew Israelite, right?
BHI.
The official term. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it juxtaposes his sort of new conservative,
play
patina that he's now has on him, because he was the one who after Katrina was talking about how George Bush hates black people. He was kind of like a liberal bastion against the Republican establishment of the time. And it's just you talk about the confusion that comes upon the world after it really is almost like a magic act, the way that it's been flipped. Much how we've seen the messaging about literally everything. I mean, everything we've been documenting over the past few years is a flip of the paradigm, almost an entire 180. And he, whether you like it or not, he's definitely a poignant example, if not, major player in the confusion that's still to come, unfortunately. That's very interesting. Big things going on in Ye world, Gons.
Yeah, and it's sad but true. The fact that Candace Owens was the one that really brought this to light with her tweet, it feels like the pendulum is swinging, but the indicator being black people, like, the black conservatives are now kind of moving in this direction, and so will culture, kind of thing. I don't know. It's very interesting to watch, and especially with the Ye's whole Christian or quote unquote Christian sort of thing he does, which
I forgot about that. This almost an entirely different category